What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, if you haven't been following all the rumors about Spider-Man 4, it has not been pretty. There's been a ton of dirt coming to the surface, where recently Daniel Richtman actually scooped that every time Sony uses a villain like Kraven or Venom, it actually blocks Marvel from doing so. So they're basically running through the Spider-Man's rogue gallery and limiting what Marvel Studios can do with Spider-Man villains in their own film. It was also heavily rumored that there was a major rift between Sony and Marvel as far as what they wanted to do with Spider-Man 4, where Marvel Studios wanted to make good on where they had left Tom Holland's Peter Parker at the end of No Way Home, a friendly neighborhood street-level Spider-Man, make a grounded story possibly with Daredevil, maybe squaring off against Kingpin, where it was heavily rumored Sony wanted to go right back to the well, and after doing Tobey and Andrew in the last movie, do another Spider-Man multiverse movie. Well, today we have an enormous update about Spider-Man 4, when it's supposed to start filming, what the release date's going to look like, and because of when it's coming out, how it's going to impact the plot, and it looks as though Sony won. We're going to break down this latest huge update about Spider-Man 4, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel. That's all we do. All you got to do, press the sub button, leave a comment down below. That automatically enters you to win our ongoing PS5 giveaway. If you want, stick around at the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so this was the latest breaking from Daniel Richtman. You guys can follow him over on Twitter at RPK News. And as far as he goes, when it comes to Marvel scoops, guys, he's the most trusted name, the most trusted source in the Marvel scoop game, even so much so that the Hollywood Reporter and Deadline have been running news stories later in the afternoon off his scoops in the morning. This broke late last night via his Patreon, where he said this about Spider-Man 4, quote, "As expected, Spider-Man 4 will now film next year in 2025 and is slated to release in July of 2026 between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars." Meaning that yes, this is very likely going to be another multiverse movie. Now, as I mentioned in the prologue, this point of contention had already become pretty public, that there was very obviously something going on behind the scenes where Marvel Studios and Sony weren't seen eye to eye on exactly what to do with this next film. I think the whole point of leaving Peter Parker where they did at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home was to give us that sort of fresh, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, no resources like Tony Stark, no friends to lean on, and that would have helped build a brand new identity for Peter Parker and help him grow into the hero that is Spider-Man. Not that he would always stay anonymous and that people would forget him forever in the MCU, but just rather that he would be able to sort of reestablish an origin or get a fresh start in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which we know for a lot of characters and stories is near impossible unless they do a reboot. But for Spider-Man, for Tom Holland's Peter Parker, that's exactly what had happened, which seems like a miracle to pull off. And yes, there were some plot holes with the spell in No Way Home, but all things considered, they were able to give this character a fresh start, meaning he could forge new relationships on a street level in New York City with, say, like Daredevil. And while there did seem to be some implication of a multiverse story plot with the symbiote getting left over in the 616, we all assumed that was to team up Tom Holland's Spider-Man with that symbiote so that he could adorn the black suit and during Avengers Secret Wars like Spider-Man did in the original 1980s run of the story. Now, obviously, we've talked about this at the channel. The landscape of the entire MCU should be completely fractured by the time we get to the end of Avengers Doomsday, probably in a state of battle world or something that resembles it with multiple incursions, limited timelines left. And so this was going to be a feat for really any film or project that comes out in that period of time between the two films, unless it's a prequel, which I sort of always hate because it really diminishes sometimes the agency or basically the stakes of the story, knowing that it had already happened and we're already somewhere in the MCU past that. But they could have easily done that, just rewound it a year or two to tell Spider-Man's story and how it leads up to this. I think very clearly they're not going back to the Tobey and Andrew well. While I do expect to see Tobey and Andrew back as Spider-Man, one or both of them, for Avengers Secret Wars, and I don't think it's impossible we see Tobey Maguire or Andrew, I don't think that will be the main part of the plot where they all team up again and go at it. Instead, I think a lot more likely the case, if this is a multiverse story, and as was the case for the Jonathan Hickman run, they're going to use the multiverse to introduce Miles Morales into live action. I think that's probably ultimately Sony's goal. And while Amy Pascal has said a couple of times in interviews she wants to make several more Tom Holland movies, even another trilogy, before they get to Miles Morales live action, you cannot argue that Sony has been striking out left and right in their Spider-Man-less Spider-Verse, where they have the likes of Morbius and they have the likes of Kraven, but they have no Spider-Man. And so for a Miles Morales film that could canonize that character and maybe even be outside of the contractual obligations, which would give them a Spider-Man to use in their own Spider-Verse, that's obviously what Sony wants. That's obviously what Marvel Studios is trying to avoid. But with Across the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse as popular as it is, and now depending on the age group of the person that you ask, there is an indelible line where if you ask someone, say 16 and under, who's Spider-Man, their immediate answer is Miles Morales, not Peter Parker. So Sony is looking desperately to find that Spider-Man character for themselves. And I don't even want to get into the fact that despite all of the contract obligations that we still don't know about, it looks obvious that Sony basically gave up the rights to Spider-Man himself. That's why they haven't had one in their own universe. They just can't. And I can't imagine that if they extend Tom Holland's contract in Disney, that it's not going to do the exact same thing. That's theories and talk for a totally different video. But when we hear that we're headed back to the multiverse and for Peter Parker, not only do I think that that clearly means Miles Morales, but I think it's a huge mistake. I think it's a huge mistake on Sony's part to fight Marvel for this, because there is a perfect story lining up between Spider-Man and Daredevil and the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that we haven't seen yet, because he's always had magical friends or rich friends or been going to space or dealing with the multiverse, etc. And even though it might have been a fear of Sony's that they were basically stepping it back after a huge grandiose multiverse tale in Spider-Man 3, that they were going to do something smaller in Spider-Man 4, but I disagree. It would have been the place to go that's new, and because Marvel Studios on the other side had reacquired those rights for Daredevil and Punisher and some of the street level heroes in Kingpin, why not capitalize on that? But unfortunately, Sony's gonna Sony. They've been Sonying the whole time, and I don't know why I get disappointed when Sony's, because they don't know what else to do besides Sony. But you guys let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. What do you want to see from a multiverse story, and do you agree that the street level story was right there in front of them? If they are going to do a multiverse story, do you agree it's Miles Morales? And how do you think this is all going to go down if it does go down basically in a Battle World MCU landscape? I'm all ears as always. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. Alright, we are still giving away PlayStation 5s at the channel. Next one's right around the corner to coincide with Agatha all along next month. If you want to be entered to win or for any of our future giveaways, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button because you need to be a subscriber, then leave a comment down below, because it's truly random. The more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will always be announced at the end of videos in the same segment we're doing here, live with my voice in the comments shown on screen, so please be safe and vigilant on the platform. If you should get a spam comment, please try to remember that anybody can take a content creator's photo, claim to be that content creator, and tell you you've won a prize. Really, it's a whole ruse to get you to pay for shipping for a prize that doesn't exist. If you should win the PlayStation or the tickets we give away, like some of the concert tickets to our show coming up next Sunday, September 1st, basically I tell you to DM me on Instagram or email me on my business email, which is under the About section, which are both verified accounts. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. And as always, if you liked today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me in a couple of places, Instagram and Twitter at @I'mFires. You can also find me on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, iTunes, wherever you listen to original music under the name All Fires. And while I'd sincerely appreciate you checking my music out, thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.